The regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District is now called to order. It is Monday, December 20th, 2021. It is 5:15 p.m. And Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang,
Here,
and Commissioner Wright.
Joanne, as you can see, Commissioner Ernst is joining us virtually, and we welcome him on the big screen. Commissioners, are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing no hands raised, we will now go to public requests. If you'll step to the podium, please, and turn the mic on, we'd love to hear from you.
I'm Raul Travieso. I live at 1037 West Royal Palm Road, of course, here in Boca. I've got some really exciting news coming up in January regarding pickleball, but I'd like to reserve that for those comments for the January 2nd meeting. What I do want to do today is to thank you all for all the hard work you do. And I just want you to know that we're very appreciative of what you do for the citizens of Boca Raton. I play a lot of pickleball and I play a lot of other sports. And this is still the finest place for parks in the city of Boca Raton. So again, I just want to thank you. Wish you a happy, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and a healthy and happy New Year. Thank you.
You, Raul, and to you as well. Would anyone else like to speak? Tom? Are there any calls? At this time, public requests are closed, and we go to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on December 6th, 2021. Do I hear a motion? Good. Any discussion? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Thank you. Our first item of regular business is the Sugar Sand Park Carousel discussion. Brianne, would you lead us off, please?
Commissioners, on page 6 of your agenda packets was a memo that I put together last week, kind of detailing where we were at with the carousel. As you all may have seen, I sent a very last minute report to your email this afternoon from Joe Cadmus, who we hired to help us put together the RFP for maintenance that we wanted to do on the carousel. It was discovered when he was working on the carousel that there's severe deterioration in a lot of the equipment and gearboxes. So tonight, what I'd like to do, we don't have a quote necessarily on specifically how much it's going to cost to restore it. We know it's going to be a pretty healthy sum. So tonight, what I'd like to do is request an approval in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the parts. And then we would like to go out for an RFP to do the actual repair work on the carousel. The parts themselves will take about 3 months. It will come from our manufacturer, which was Chance Rides out of Wichita, Kansas. The carousel's been around since 2005. So it's given us a lot of life. If we go through this process and do these repairs, we expect to get another 10 to 15 years of use out of the carousel before we'd have anything other major to do to it. A replacement carousel is anywhere from $1 to $1.5 million. So these are kind of where we're at tonight. So I feel like the best thing to do would be to move forward on ordering the parts, do an RFP to get the work done and see where we are with that. We anticipate that maybe being up to $150,000 to do the actual repair work. Again, I think going out for an RFP to see what those options are is the best bet for that.
Thank you, commissioners. Do you have any questions? Commissioner Ernst, let's start with you since.
No, No, Madam Chair, I think it sounds like a good proposal.
Any other comments or Commissioner Wright?
Oh, I'll make a motion to go ahead and do the RFP and then $100,000 for the parts.
We need two motions. So which one would you like to start with? The second.
I can.
Is there any other discussion?
Just for
Grant.
clarification, Madam Chair, I can't hear the motion. I don't know if it,
It was the motion to do the $100,000, not to exceed $100,000 for the parts and to go ahead and order those.
okay. And the second one
Okay.
was to do an RFP.
Well, we haven't voted on the first
Okay.
motion first,
Okay.
but thank you. Joanne, would you do the roll call vote, please, for the $100,000, not to exceed $100,000 for the parts?
Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel? Yes. Commissioner Rollins? Yes. Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
Okay, now for the RFP.
Okay, so make a motion for the RFP to go out and get the carousel fixed.
Were you able to hear that, Commissioner Ernst?
I'd be happy to second it.
Oh, wait, Steve did, but thank you.
Couldn't hear him.
Is there any other discussion? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel? Yes. Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
Okay, Brianne, you have your work cut out for you again. Our second order of business is the work order for the Racket Center renovations found on page 7 of your agenda packet.
Beginning on page 7 is a work order from Calvin Giordano and Associates detailing the work that we had budgeted to do here at Swim and Racket Center, which includes resurfacing the 26 courts, replacement of the lighting, basically getting the lighting on the 12 existing courts up to current standards, and then adding lighting to 8 existing courts. So the work order also includes construction, contract management, and administrative services as well. The total tonight that I'm asking for approval for is $48,552. You'll notice on the 4th item, when it's detailed in their itemized listing on page 15, the hourly rate for construction management is $130 an hour. And that would be to attend some of these meetings, do the walkthroughs with punch lists and those kinds of things. So I would manage those hours and make sure that we do not spend that frivolously. Additionally, to approve this contract, I would ask that we're going to add the following language to this work order. And we would just add something stating that in the event of any conflicts between this work order and the agreement between the district and CGA dated November 15, 2021, the agreement shall prevail. So what that means is the conditions that we agreed to with our master agreement with CGA would supersede anything in these conditions here on this agreement. So I'm here to answer any questions.
You're right.
Yeah, what did we originally budget just for the design services that they're proposing for right now?
Okay, so a total for this whole project was $750,000 that we had budgeted, and that's $300,000 for the resurfacing and $450,000 for the lighting, and part of that was design fees, which are typically about the $45,000. So this is right about where we thought we would be. We did add the construction, the contract management in there, partly because we may have some staff out for extended periods of time, so we wanted to have that option in there.
Could we add to this contract the hourly rate schedule? Just because I
It's,
think,
if we add that language, that all the terms from the previous agreement, I think that would highlight it, right?
Oh.
Thank you. So just for the record, Madam Chair, Commissioners, the board recently approved a continuing services agreement with Calvin Giordano and Associates under the CCNA process, which is an RFQ process. That contract provides a mechanism for each time the district has an assignment for this particular vendor, they would submit a work order and which included a scope and a cost for those particular services, which are included in your backup. The item in your backup also has some terms and conditions, which we would typically not see in a work order. So the language that Ms. Harms had referenced would provide for the agreement that we have with the vendor to prevail over any conflicting language. That agreement that we have with CGA does provide for an exhibit with an hourly rate for all of their different positions and all the different services they provide. So that's already included in our underlying agreement with the vendor.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Rollins?
Yeah, and I've spoken to Brian about this. We put funding in our budget for pickleball courts at Patch Reef, right? How are we going to manage this so that we're going to be able to do the pickleball courts in the next fiscal year at the same time we're doing this project here, Brian, getting it scheduled?
It's a good question. So for this particular project, if it's approved tonight, they'll have the plans to us, 50% of the plans by January 19th, 90% by February 9th. We'll turn it around. And they hope to have 100% of the plans completed, and depending on review by the city, et cetera, we would hopefully be ready to bid this in March and get it going. I don't know the length of time that it would take to do the install. I guess it would depend on how much work is to be done on the courts that have never been lit before. But what we'd like to do is go ahead and start the work order for get a work order put together from CGA for the work at Patch Reef, because while this is being constructed, we could start the design process. Patch Reef is going to be a lot more comprehensive because there's land clearing and a lot of different things that are going to come into play at Patch Reef. So while this is being done, we can start the design so that as that's going, then we can try to get make them flow evenly. So that when this is up and running and all the courts are lit again, we can take some of this people that are displaced at Patch Reef over here during that construction phase.
Yeah, I just want to not lose sight of the Patch Reef project, because I think that's important to the community. And just a reminder, when we had a conversation with Mike Wika and the manager for the assistant city manager that's doing Boca Country Club, and we addressed the fact that we had plans for pickleball at Patch Reef, extending that footprint, because I know there's some concern about making sure that the city was aware of what our plans were at Patch Reef. So I want to make sure we follow through with that. I just want to make sure that in the process of doing the fields, the tennis courts at Swim and Racket, which are sorely needed. We've been looking at that now for more than probably 5 or 6 years. That we're well past the time that need the compaction and thing. I think it's important that we do that. But at the same token, I want to stay on task with this project, and then we have the other major project with Miller Leg too. That we'll have a lot of moving parts here. I don't want too much slippage in that. So that'll be your job to manage that along with Melissa. Okay.
We've given them the scope. We've given CGA the scope for Patch Reef, so they're putting together that work order now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Ernst?
Yes, ma'am. Just two things. On page 7, I think it was, of the, no, it was 8. Somewhere in the, just for Brianne, on the phase 2, the construction documents, to me, it would be beneficial. They talk about the electrical system and the modifications and things like that. I really would think it'd be beneficial for us to ensure that we have an LED and an environmentally friendly one. So there may be some older stuff that is already there. This is the time to make sure we spend our money wisely to upgrade the electrical system. If you're going to do all the lights, what you're retrofitting, make sure it's included in it. So that would be the first item, and I'm sure you can address that through the contractor as you develop the design. The second thing, and I think it was more to Steve, Mr. Ingles' question, or Commissioner Ingles, is more for Jake. The additional fees, they have a section in there on page 14 that talks about what's not included, the calculation for off-light flood stages, a variety of different things. I guess the key there is to make sure there's no conflict with our existing agreement. And if that's the case, it's fine. But if they need to have language that if there's a conflict, our existing agreement should be the overriding agreement.
And Commissioner, the language that Brianne referenced regarding having our underlying agreement prevail over any conflicts would cover the issue you just described. And the proposed schedule of fees does reference the hourly rate for all items not included, and that hourly rate schedule is part of that underlying agreement as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. I have heard from the public that the improvements over here at Swim and Racket are definitely needed. They feel that they will be safer and more playable. So I'm glad we're going forward. Do I hear a motion to, yes, Commissioner Wright?
Are we gonna just do them all at once? Is that's what they recommend, or are we gonna be doing 12 and 12? Or 8 and then like the ones that need,
The resurfacing,
Yeah.
we're going to break it out so that they're not all closed at the same time.
okay, so we will be able to use at least some of them. Like if it ends up being during the summer, we still will have a summer program here and things like that. Okay.
Correct.
Anybody else?
I'll make a motion
Okay. Would you spell out the motion, please, Commissioner Wright?
to approve the CGA proposal for the Racket Center tennis court lighting
And resurfacing.
to include the information that Brianne referenced.
Is there any other discussion?
Second.
Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ernst, did you have something?
No, only if someone seconded, I seconded.
Commissioner Engel,
Okay.
seconded. Thank you. Would you do the roll call vote, please?
Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel? Yes. Commissioner Rollins? Yes. Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes,
Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
thank you. The approval of payroll and invoices on page 20 of your agenda packet. Do I hear a motion, Commissioner Ernst?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices for the amount of $1,932,285.54.
Thank you, Commissioner Rollins. Is there any discussion, commissioners? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel? Yes. Commissioner Rollins? Yes. Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, reports and discussion items. Executive Director Harms.
Commissioners, I just want to give a brief update. Boca Chica, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to drive through there, but it's looking really nice. I did a walkthrough with Melissa last week. We walked through the punch list for the renovations and work that's being done currently. They've done a really nice job of cleaning it up, and we've got to see a few people walking and jogging by, and everybody was really grateful for the improvements and getting the construction fencing down. So there's passing that along to you guys. They're very happy with it out there. Miller Lake has met with all of our board members here today individually to start talking about the master planning process. They've met with several city council members and are going to meet with a couple more this week and hopefully finalize that after the holidays. They're also going to be scheduling a meeting with the Keep Golf in Boca and the Golf Association per the scope of the project. That'll be after the holiday break as well. And we'll do a notice of that publicly so that if you all wanted to attend, you could as well. And anybody from the public could attend that meeting too. I wanted to go over a few highlights of the past year. It's been a strange year, 2021. We all thought we were going to get out of the COVID and everything, but here we are, still wearing our masks. But we did a lot of different things this year. Some of the projects we worked on, we hired Miller Lake for the master planning of Boca Chica. We put $500,000 in improvements over there. It's nearly completed. Renovated the batting cages. We went through an audit selection process this year and hired Grau and Associates. So we actually started getting the notifications to get that process going in January. So we're going to start our audit process again. We replaced the geothermal system here, did the pool deck and resurfacing project. We installed 6 pickleball courts at Patch Reef this past year, did some asphalt pathway resurfacing, and funded several projects that were completed in the city, which included one of the projects that Commissioner Ernst has championed, which was the security system installation at Sugar Sand and Swim and Racket. So those are done. I want to thank Andres tonight for joining us and doing all of our AV for the meeting tonight. I appreciate it. The theater staff is going to be rotating in and out of here for the coming meetings, so we'll get to see all of them and we welcome them and thank them for their help. I want to wish everybody happy holidays and a happy new year. We won't see each other again until January. And thank you all for all you do for this community.
Thank you, Brianne. District Council, Mr. Horowitz.
I can't hear Jake.
He said happy holidays.
Holidays, Craig.
Oh, okay. I,
Commissioner Ernst, would you like to start off with commissioners' reports?
well, I don't know what the red thing is at my chair, but I think I'll come in and go get it. So, other than that.
Tell you it's not ticking.
It's not ticking. It's anthrax, right? It's not. So look, I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you. It's been quite a year, and so I'll say that for the most part. But anyway, thank you for all we do. I've really learned an awful lot this year, what we can do and what we're capable of doing. And Brianne, Joanne, and Melissa have done a phenomenal job. So it's been quite a year for a lot of things, and 2022 is going to be even a better year. So looks promising. I hope that we get this COVID stuff behind us. And thank you for everything, and appreciate your working with this group of people. It's been wonderful.
Craig, I'll drop that red ticking thing off at your gate on my way home, okay?
Okay.
Right, would you like to lead off with the non-virtual?
Yeah, no, just happy holidays to everybody. And I'm looking forward to next year and getting moving on or something put on paper so we can visually see Ocean Breeze. I'm excited about that. And that's what I'm excited about. So, but yeah, happy holidays to everybody and happy new year.
Commissioner Engel?
Couple of things. First, it's been a pleasure working with all of you, especially when you laugh at my jokes. Seriously, it has been a pleasure working with each and every one of you, and I look forward to an exciting 2022, and not because of COVID, but hopefully because of the end of COVID. And I want to wish everybody a happy and healthy New Year, Merry Christmas. We all deserve some happiness after the couple of years we've been through. Something else I'd like to bring up that I noticed tonight, there were a couple of emails that we got concerning restoration of tennis courts at Patch Reef in lieu of putting in pickleball courts. And while I think this deserves attention, it's kind of late in the game. And what it illustrates is how people react to literally after the fact rather than before the fact. This is something we've been discussing for almost a year. And the only people we've heard from are the pickleball people. And in investigating the usage of the tennis courts, we've shown that there still will be enough tennis courts to go around for the people that use them. So my point with all this is to the public, if you want to change something, you need to be proactive rather than reactive. Here's a situation where pretty much the die is cast, and it's tough to turn around our ship in midstream. So pay attention to what we do, pay attention to the hearings, to the meetings. And if you have something that you'd like to add, if you want your voice to be heard, by all means, let us know. But don't wait until we're already in the process of doing something to voice your objections. And other than that, that's all I got.
You and Commissioner Rollins.
Well, I hope you'll indulge me in a little walk back in Beach and Parks District history. And Having been the longest serving member on the commission, I was stimulated to think about the things that we had accomplished in the past, much like we're discussing now about, how we're responding to the community's needs. My conversation with Miller Legg and at my age, you think back because there's more sand in the bottom than there is in the top of the hourglass. You reflect back on things that have happened. And I moved here in 77 and have been an ardent user of the parks ever since, largely due to my kids, youth sports activities. Woodlands was my first experience, which was a city park and still one of my favorite parks to go to. I put a lot of hours in refereeing and coaching soccer at Patch Reef back in the day. That's another one of my favorites. For those of you who have probably never been to Lake Wyman and had a soccer match over there and stood on the sidelines during high tide at the southeast corner of that park, it's about 6 inches deep in water. And it was about that time I began to get interested in the beach and park district because of the parks that we had around town. My first foray into the political scene was enticing FAU and the district to build the fields at Henderson, which 20-year lease on that project went by in a heartbeat. But thanks to one of the commissioners that worked at FAU, we were able to get that agreement done. And those fields, I spent a lot of time as a spectator, as a coach as well over there at FAU. And I think that one of the reasons we had those fields is when Sugar Sand came online, we were pressing, the soccer community was pressing the district to put rectangular fields into Sugar Sand Park. And Lane Kleinman was a longtime member of the district, suggested we go to FAU, which is what we did, and built Henderson, which has subsequently led to us with the Glades Road fields, with the varsity field. And in spite of any criticism to the contrary, we're not paying any more for the use of those fields than what the maintenance costs are if we had ownership in those fields. So I think it was a good deal for us. Working on the Spanish River fields was an interesting thing to have accomplished. The city originally was going to build that project, and they passed it off to us with 60% of the drawings done and asked us to complete their $24 million project. And we did it for 14. So I know we can do, and with our projects. Sugar Sand Park was not anything that I was involved in the acquisition, but the science playground and the science explorium certainly were a welcome addition to it. I was on hand for the development of that facility. Red Reef, all of us have experienced sunsets and sunrises. The sunsets are not as brilliant as the sunrises are, but some of us, that's my time of the day, and I've enjoyed Red Reef and what that's offered to the community. Gumbo Limbo, what can you say about that? We got a wonderful relationship with the city in doing that facility, the boardwalks that we rebuilt over the years, the tower that hopefully will get done in January or soon. Ocean Strand was an interesting acquisition because we had to parcel that together. It was there were 3 residential properties on the north end of that we had to buy out in order to get that project completed, and we withstood the charge of many developers. I think you made a stand there over your dead body, Steve. But it was an interesting parcel. But I think the district over time has done what no other municipality been able to do and keep our beachfronts looking like beachfronts. We've kept our parks, as been alluded to earlier, as pristine. For those of us who have traveled around to different cities, I know Aaron has, I know Craig probably has. We are lucky that we have the district that provides these services. And Ocean Breeze is another project that really gets to where I was going with this is it's something that must be planned carefully. It's something that we need to look toward the future. And when talking with Miller Legg, they asked me for my vision of that property. And I shared with them some of my thoughts, but I said, one thing that I know we need to do is we need to keep an eye on the future. Years ago, lacrosse was a growing sport, and we had a lot of pressure to put down artificial surface over at Patch Reef, one of the fastest growing sports at the time. Now we have another fast growing sport, pickleball, who was never on our horizon 20 years ago. So I think the eye on the future, we must be careful in the planning. You don't want to plan it out completely. But I think that we just need to be vigilant, staying on top of Miller Legg. I'd like to see us come in earlier with our plans than November, which is, I think is what they said they'd have it all put together. But you know, as an independent taxing district, we have a larger community than just what's in the city limits. And I think that we've done a good job of taking care of all of our constituents, all of our taxpayers, and we should continue to do that. I think that we just need to resolve, as we have done, that you know, we may start out with different opinions, but I think eventually we all end up with an agreement on what is the right way to develop this parcel of property, just like we did when we selected, after many interviews, the golf course architect for Ocean Breeze. You know, time passes quickly. The reputation of the district, I think, in spite of a gentleman's comment at the recent planning and zoning, is sterling. I think from a transparency standpoint, we listen to the public. Raul, I think we've listened to you about pickleball to the point where I can hear your voice without you even saying anything. And we're so glad that we've been able to do that and accomplish those things that we've set out to do over the history since 1973, when the district was actually formed. Like you, I'm proud to be a commissioner on this. I'm proud to listen to comments from the public, good or bad. You know, some are more constructive than others, but I'm happy that we give the public the proper respect that they're entitled to. With all that said, I want to wish my commissioners, you know, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. And in 2022, we have a lot of work to do. Let's roll up our sleeves and let's turn in another good year. And the one final thing I want to, this is directed, I've talked to Brienne about that. Sunday, I was headed to to watch my grandson play over at FAU on the game field. And I got a phone call from someone, multiple people, saying that the fields at Spanish River had been closed. For those of you who don't know what happens after a rainstorm, the city has this divining rod where they go look for water on the field, and then we'll close the field. They did that at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I'm all in favor of giving people who are coming out there to play ample time to use to plan other things if the games are canceled. If at 9 o'clock you register that you got moisture, and there are some places on that field where water will drain off the field, there will be standing water, but not in the middle of the field. I don't think you can just do one water check at 9 a.m. for a 1 o'clock game. And when the sun comes out, as it did, when there's a breeze constantly blowing across those fields over there, I think that they were a little presumptuous to close the field as quickly as they did. Personally, I've had conversations with them over the years about that, and I was really disappointed that they were so quick to shut the fields down when there was no further rain that was predicted in the forecast Sunday. It was a beautiful day. I walked the field at FAU, and it was probably in better, probably as in good a condition as what Spanish River was. And I've asked Brienne if she would to ask the city. We got their procedures for closing the fields. I think they recognize that they closed it a little bit too early without doing another check.
although they admitted that they should have gone back out there closer to 1 o'clock. I would have done something closer to 11 o'clock to measure that. And the conversation I had with a staff member there at the city once was, this is this is not Augusta. So long as it's not a safety issue, I see no reason why you have to close the fields down if we have a little water. It rained about 5:30 in the morning, for those of you who woke up when that happened. And I'm really disappointed, as probably there were parents that were expecting to watch their kids recreate. And I want to make sure that in the future, they do a better job of testing out the fields. I want for them to let us know, so we don't have to hear from the public that it's going to be closed. If it were a day where we had some of these where you had these monsoons come in, this was not. If you had a day where there was rain forecast for the entire day, which there was not, it was quite sunny at 1 o'clock, and I don't understand the logic behind being so quick to close it. It reminds me of West Pines, where I was down there playing, watching my grandson play a match. And we still had about 15 minutes to go. We were delayed. If you've ever been in the last game of the day, it's going to be delayed. Well, at 9 o'clock, they turned the lights off and locked the fields up. And the kids had to walk in the dark, a couple of city blocks to get out to the one gate. I can't imagine that happening in Boca, but it was time to go home. And I'm just wondering if it was time to go home for some of these folks that closed the fields, which was a little frustrating to me, as you can imagine. So with that said, sorry to occupy so much airtime, folks, but I just had to get that out and also reflect upon the years that the district has been doing a yeoman's work with the city. And I think that's how Mickey Gomez came up with a city within a park that they use to describe our park system. It's second to none. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. How many games had to be canceled for that on Sunday? Well, thank you for that history. And to add to your history and to Brienne's, I think we've done something that's very good for the community in getting the word out through our public relations PR guru. I've heard more from the public that, oh, now we know what you do, or we know who you are. And I'm real happy that we went forward with that. I'd like to thank Joanne and Brienne and Melissa for a great year and a lot of hard work, and for a lovely spread in the kitchen here. They really went all out. Lots of food, lots of calories, and it's just beautiful. And we really appreciate all of that. And I'd like to wish each and every one of you a prosperous and healthy new year, and to thank you for all your cooperation while I'm sitting right here. So it's been a pleasure. And Brienne, would you like to go over the future agenda items?
Just a couple of future agenda items that I have are the 2022 election of officers, which has to be our first item of business at our first meeting in January. And then also we hope to have the work order for the Patch Reef Park pickleball project. And I'm sure we will have a number of things come up between now and then that will need to be discussed and addressed.
Commissioner Engel?
Turn.
Brienne, would you do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelside,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Meeting adjourned. Happy New Year, everyone. Enjoy your holidays. Be safe.